Our protagonist is Ryuta, a master gamer. In this team-based battle game, he and his squad have surged into the top 10 on the global leaderboard. Bursting with confidence, he believes he's the best player in the country, hungry to climb even higher by facing off against foreign rivals. The game he plays isn't just any shooter. It's a worldwide sensation where bombs replace guns, turning every match into a strategic dance of explosions. Though Ryuta has been unemployed for 22 years in this world, he reigns supreme. He even has a lover inside the game, a digital bond that feels real. It seems he could live forever inside this virtual realm, never needing to return to reality. But then, in a jarring awakening, he finds himself lying in a forest, a parachute strapped to his back, his body aching. He peels off the harness, clueless why he's here. Blood stains his head, and when he tries his phone, no signal. His hand grips a strange, stone cold and numb as if alien to pain. Suspecting abduction by extraterrestrials, Ryuta spots his bag nearby. Inside clothes, a small pouch and some food and drink await him. Resolute, he decides to explore to figure out where this place is. Venturing out of the forest, eerie insects swarm, igniting panic that sends him sprinting. Beyond the trees, an endless ocean stretches before him, a vast, lonely expanse. Memories flicker back to that day, his mother forcing him into a convenience store job without asking, sparking his anger. Then, on the way home, a sinister encounter with men in suits seeking him out. Ryuta devours the only bento meal he has, wondering what tomorrow's hunger will bring. The small pouch in his bag doesn't belong to him, so curiosity wins. He pulls out a device, accidentally triggering a countdown. A bad feeling gnaws at him. He tosses it aside just before it explodes. Bewildered why a bomb was in his possession, he chooses to ignore it and runs. Ahead, a figure appears. Ryuta signals, but the stranger pulls out another bomb and hurls it at him. Danger explodes in an instant. Memories from the game flood back, and Ryuta grabs a nearby bomb, sprinting for survival. The pursuer won't relent. Ryuta thinks he's lost him, but another bomb lands nearby. Cornered, he decides to fight back, throwing a bomb, but it fails to detonate. Frustration mounts until he recalls the activation mechanism. When the enemy steps closer, Ryuta tosses the bomb again. It explodes, delayed and unpredictable. Without instructions, he's fumbling in the dark. The attacker senses this and chases Ryuta relentlessly. But before the enemy can find him, Ryuta brandishes a bomb from behind, threatening him. Ryuta questions the man about this strange place and the bombs. The pursuer quickly realizes Ryuta's lost his memory and sees that someone clueless about bomb usage isn't a threat. He throws a bomb at Ryuta, but it backfires, giving Ryuta a narrow escape. Exhausted, Ryuta tries surrendering, only to be bombed again, landing in soft grass. The attacker can't find him, but the stone in Ryuta's hand tingles, sensing the enemy's proximity. This stone feels like a GPS, revealing that hiding forever is futile. Ryuta examines the bomb, realizing it's a timed explosive, while the enemy's is impact-triggered, just like in his game. Clinging to his top 10 world-rank confidence, he reassures himself, this is his arena. These are his battles. The enemy, unsure of Ryuta's location, plans a widespread bomb assault to flush him out. Ryuta steels himself for the fight ahead. He dove into the water, planning to wait for Ryuta to surface and then throw a bomb. But little did he know Ryuta had already set a trap beneath his feet. By the time he realized it was far too late. Underwater, Ryuta watched as pieces of the man's body drifted down, a sight so disgusting it nearly made him vomit. He told himself it was self-defense. Then, a flashback took him to the day he applied for a job at a game company, only to be rejected. His mother, worried sick, wanted to find him work, but he lashed out with harsh words, fracturing their bond. Deep down, Ryuta blamed himself for drifting aimlessly, refusing to find a proper job. He woke up stomach growling from having thrown up all last night's dinner. Then, he spotted a girl across the stream. Swallowing nervously, he approached, startling her back in fear. This girl, our heroine, had once met Ryuta in the game world. She admired him deeply then, since he was so talented, he'd even been featured in a gaming magazine. Without hesitation, Ryuta invited her to join his team, seeing her sitting alone waiting for a friend who hadn't arrived. She believed fate had brought them together. The next day, her friend arrived to apologize, explaining she'd been distracted by visitors the night before. The girl's name was Himiko. In real life, boys noticed Himiko a lot. She bragged to her friend about playing games with a famous idol the night before. The two girls hung out, but Himiko wondered what Ryuta was like outside the game. What if he was just some old man? Her friend joked that she should let herself dream a little. They took photos cosplaying their in-game characters, blissfully unaware what lay ahead if Ryuta discovered she was a high school girl with golden hair. Himiko was just a normal student, but suddenly found herself trapped in this strange place. She thought she was being punished. Nearby, she spotted a bag of grenades and feared she might have to kill someone. Looking toward the forest, it seemed cool and inviting, yet the thought of insect bites made her change her mind, so she rested in the shade. Memories flashed back to school, where friends pulled out a rumor sheet claiming that if you wrote a person's name on it, they would disappear and the writer would win 1,000,000 yen. Suddenly, Himiko snapped back to reality and faced 3 men. They hadn't harmed her and insisted they meant no harm. They proposed forming a group and using bombs to fish for food. The island showed almost no signs of life, so they'd have to wait for a passing ship or join this deadly game. One man, the friendly uncle, refused to join the cruel game, but another, tied up and stern, accused him of hypocrisy. The tied man claimed to be a teacher who knew right from wrong, and was no weakling, a rank 4 wanderer, but here weapons meant little against bombs. Tensions flared as the tied man took Himiko hostage, forcing the teacher to choose die, proving his ideals, or attack and be branded a hypocrite. Himiko pulled out a stun baton to escape, forcing the tied man to release her. He revealed it was just a test to expose the teacher's true nature. They then voted for a leader, surprisingly choosing Himiko. She didn't understand why she was picked. Suddenly, a plane dropped supplies, food and water. The 3 devoured it greedily. The teacher urged saving the rations, but was swiftly silenced, cut by the tied man's knife for talking too much. The shock sent Himiko spiraling into a memory, visiting a senpai's house with friends. Before entering, she asked to leave briefly, returning later. She snapped back to the present, as a plump man pulled her away, both desperate to escape the tied man's wrath, fearing he'd kill them as he had the teacher. They ran, and the plump man taught her to use radar, embedded in a stone. Trying it, she spotted the pursuer closing in. They raced toward a suspension bridge. Himiko crossed first. The plump man hesitated, terrified. The pursuer caught up behind the plump man, who panicked and threw a bomb, then fled. The bomb released poisonous smoke that withered the trees, a deadly gas. The plump man grabbed Himiko's hand, urging her to flee. She didn't want to kill anyone, but he exaggerated the threat, forcing her to punch him free. He lost control, threatening violence, but she brandished her stun baton. Her mind flashed back to a time at the senpai's house when her group was assaulted by the senpai and his gang. She had resisted and fled, hearing a friend's cries, but running away in fear. Though the gang was caught by police, Himiko was shunned by friends who blamed her for fleeing. She hid in a corner, believing it was punishment. The plump man found her and pinned her down, intending to harm her. Terrified, she pulled a bomb's pin, ready to die with him. He fled cowardly, earning her scorn and a bomb thrown in his direction. She had just taken a life, but felt no guilt. From then on, she vowed men were scum and promised to protect herself at all costs. Later, while washing up, she met Ryuta, who ignored her bathing and focused on her food stash. She tried to run, but Ryuta chased after her, unsure of her direction. Remembering the stone's power, he activated it like a radar, tracking her path. He followed the signal to some bushes, then threw a bomb, and a man appeared, collapsing backward. The man begged Ryuta for mercy, not wanting to die or join the game. While lying in the wreckage, he shared his story. Ryuta realized he'd lost memories from the plane. Together, they went to a stream to talk. The man recalled being captured by men in black, waking up on a plane with about 30 others, many armed. She sprinted away, and the chubby uncle instructed her on how to use the radar embedded within the stone. As she tested it, she discovered that the enemy was hot on their trail. They raced toward a swaying bridge, and Himiko crossed first. The uncle, paralyzed by fear, hesitated to follow just as the pursuer closed in. In a moment of sheer panic, he hurled a bomb and dashed to safety. Realizing that it emitted a deadly gas, causing the vegetation to wither, the pursuer understood the threat. The uncle grabbed her hand, urging her to escape together. She hesitated, unwilling to take a life, and he began to overreact, forcing her to punch him to break free. Frustrated, he lashed out, but she brandished a stun baton, recalling the horrifying moment she returned home to find her friends violated by Senpai and his gang. Though she fought to escape, she saw her best friend pleading for help. Overwhelmed with fear, she abandoned her friends to report to the police. Though Senpai's group was apprehended, her friends turned against her, blaming her for fleeing, while they faced the horrors. She later hid in a corner, believing this was her punishment. The chubby man found her and pinned her down, intent on punishing her further with his vile intentions. In desperation, she pulled out a bomb, ready to end it all with him terrified and resigned. But he fled in fear, prompting her to call him a coward and throw the bomb toward him. In that moment, her hands stained with blood, she felt no remorse. She decided to harden her heart, vowing that all men were scum and she would protect herself at any cost. While rinsing herself off, she encountered Ruta, who was oblivious to her bathing, but fixated on the considerable amount of food she possessed. As she ran, he chased after her. Unsure of which direction she had taken, he remembered the stone's ability was akin to a radar. He focused and activated it, discovering the path she fled. Immediately, he followed, soon detecting a signal from a nearby bush. Armed with a bomb, he rushed forward, only to find an uncle who fell back begging for mercy. He didn't want to be part of this mess or die amidst his own filth. Ryuta insisted that uncle pull up his pants and tell him about this game. The uncle realized Ryuta had no recollection of what transpired on the plane. They made their way to a stream to talk. He recalled being captured by men in black, waking up on the plane with around 30 others surrounded by armed guards. A man appeared on the screen, revealing this was a game he had created. Ryuta couldn't believe someone would treat this as mere entertainment. The plane was heading to a Pacific island devoid of food and water. To escape, they had to participate in the game. Defiance would lead to electrocution. They were to fight using grenades, 8 for each person, with no one knowing which type they would receive. There were no instructions, so caution was essential. To escape, they had to collect chips like the one on Ryuta's wrist, which would grant them the ability to use the radar. They needed 8 chips in total, including their own, and chips could only be obtained upon someone's death. At that moment, Ryuta stood up in protest. He had no memory of the events because he had stood up against them, seemingly aware of the identity of the man on the screen. His act of defiance resulted in him being restrained and facing high-voltage electric shocks. They were forced to wear parachutes and were pushed out of the plane. The parachutes would deploy automatically, and anyone who refused to jump would be shocked into falling. As he plummeted, he sensed that the man on the screen was also aware of his situation. He stood up to resist, yet he couldn't recall the events clearly, because at that moment he defied them. It seemed he recognized the name flashing on the screen. His rebellion led to him being subdued, and electric shock pressed against his head. Then, forced into a parachute, he was shoved off the plane. The chute opens automatically, so anyone refusing to jump would be shocked until they fell. As he descended, the name on the screen seemed familiar to him as well. Ryuta was among the top players in the game. Now he finally understood why he saw blood on his head in the forest. After some reasoning, he realized that all the rules mirrored those of the game he played. It dawned on him that the mastermind behind this chaos was likely the game's developer. He knew he would have to endure the torment of killing 6 more times if he wanted to escape. Doubts crept in. Was he truly capable of such a thing? The older man noticed the shock on his face and offered to team up. He sensed hesitation, not from unwillingness, but from the heavy burden of killing 14 people together. The man himself despised this deadly game and sought another way out. The boy's lingering doubt made the man think he was a liability, yet the boy agreed with one condition. He wanted to see what kind of bomb the man carried, but the man refused, both still strangers, each guarding a secret weapon, as a sign of mutual respect and distrust. The boy saw through the man's facade and realized he was no fool. This intelligence sparked a fragile trust between them. They brushed aside suspicion and introduced themselves. The man was Tai Jia. After some talk, Tai Jia admitted he thought the boy was decent, but wondered why fate had thrown them both into this nightmare. Suddenly, they heard a noise from above. Ryuta climbed up, followed by Tai Jia, and they spotted a plane dropping supplies. Ryuta recognized it as a food drop. Spotting one nearby, he dashed toward it only to see a girl rush ahead, snatching it first. Then, the ground beneath her exploded. From the smoke, a figure emerged, snatched the chip, and grabbed all the bombs and supply cases before fleeing. It was clear the trap was set long ago, preying on anyone drawn by the food. Ryuta couldn't fathom how someone could kill so coldly without a second thought. Taijia climbed up behind him, and Ryuta apologized for failing to retrieve the food. Seeing the body, Taijia explained the trap was deadly. Ryuta should have been the one caught in the blast. There was another food case farther away, but Taijia said it wasn't worth risking their lives for. He encouraged Ryuta food fuels the spirit. We'll try to get to it, but if we can't, we won't give up without a fight. Together, they slid down the mountain, setting off on their perilous quest for survival. Along the way, they learned about a boy named Kia, just 14 years old. He'd run away from home after suffering abuse from his father, spiraling into theft, pickpocketing, and finally murder-assaulting 3 women. Arrested, the police described him as a charming-looking psychopath. His lawyer, the best in the field, chose to defend him to boost his own reputation. Depending on Kia's mental state, he might avoid prison entirely. The police were helpless, especially when Kia laughed as he was thrown into this deadly game alongside the lawyer. Kia had already begun killing frogs for fun. The lawyer still believed he could reform this madman, but struggled to explain anything to Kia. Suddenly, they saw another supply drop. The lawyer wanted Kia to go for it, planning to follow closely behind. He wasn't afraid to argue back with that man, but the moment he faced his father, he shut up like a clam. That very attitude only fueled the father's growing fury. Later, at the supply drop, the father took the bomb from that man to attach it to a tree for lowering supplies. But only the bomb's owner could activate it, so the man was forced to trigger the explosion himself. The blast created a vacuum toppling the tree, and the father claimed the suitcase for himself. He declared that only those who followed him would get to eat. The lawyer chimed in, arguing that here laws held no power. This was the law of the jungle. The man grew furious with the father and was scolded harshly. The father crushed the boy's hand, and this torment dragged memories of past abuse flooding back. In a desperate move, the boy strapped the bomb onto the father, who couldn't shed his shirt in time, and was sucked to his death. The boy had hoped the lawyer would protect him, but the lawyer had reached his limit with this madman. He called the boy a curse upon humanity and fled in anger. Just then, Ki noticed someone arriving. Ryuta and Uncle Tai had come. Ryuta sensed he couldn't detect Ki's presence. It was as if Ki was invisible to his scan. Seeing Ki murder Ryuta realized there were no laws here, only survival of the fittest. Whoever deserved to die would. Ki grabbed the bomb from the father, and both seized the chance to run away. Ryuta wouldn't let them escape. This place felt like the game he mastered best. Ki used his radar to track Ryuta, who was unsure whether to fight or flee. Suddenly, Uncle Tai tripped and twisted his ankle. He urged Ryuta to run and leave him behind. Ryuta hesitated should he risk his life to save someone he just met. In the end, Ryuta told Uncle Tai to stay put while he lured the madman away. He decided to teach Ki a lesson, taking all his bombs for himself. After all, he was the world's top player. Both sides exchanged radar pings, hunting each other relentlessly. With resolve, Ryuta turned back and the two finally crossed paths, dropping bombs on the ground. From this clash, they recognized each other as skilled players, but Ki ranked only 3 stars while Ryuta was 4. Ki was intrigued to find Ryuta was also a player. Uncle Tai took advantage of the distraction to snatch the chip from the father, while Ryuta was forced to examine Ki's remaining bombs. Trying to escape, Ryuta set a trap, but Ki chased him and fell into it. The trap was too weak to finish Ki off. Anticipating a frontal attack, Ki threw a vacuum bomb that stuck to a pot Ryuta held, who quickly threw it away. Ki knew Ryuta was strong in the game, but weak in real life. Ki stood up, mocking Ryuta as clueless and reckless. Ryuta thought Ki was just a clueless kid, but the bomb forced him to hit his head on a rock. Realizing this was just a game, Ryuta embraced the fight like always. When detected, he blocked the vacuum bomb with an empty bag and kept moving. Ki kept scanning with his radar, but found nothing, assuming Ryuta was still. Yet Ryuta kept circling, confusing Ki's scans. Ryuta had mastered a pro technique, jamming the radar by activating his own at the perfect moment. Ki couldn't tell if Ryuta was moving or standing still and grew increasingly disoriented. Seizing the moment, Ryuta gently landed a bomb on Ki, then snapped back to reality, realizing he'd almost killed someone again. He quickly knocked Ki out and took his head, walking away. When Ki demanded his name, Ryuta gave his in-game handle. Ki recognized him as the only Japanese player in the global top ranks and found the island fascinating. Ryuta and Uncle Tai shared a meal after days on the island. Though just a simple cup of noodles, it tasted like a feast earned with their lives. Uncle Tai couldn't stop expressing gratitude, moved to tears by Ryuta's selflessness. For Ryuta, it was the first time someone truly appreciated him. Yet he still wondered what had led him here. Meanwhile, back home, Ryuta's mother was on the brink of ending her life when his father arrived just in time to save her. She felt she'd failed as a mother, having raised Ryuta poorly so much that Ryuta barely saw his father as one. She had signed papers that sent Ryuta to this island. Returning to Ryuta's present, he and Uncle Tai discovered the fat man's corpse had fallen from the waterfall. Ryuta wanted to check for enemies above and told Uncle Tai to hide with supplies. His inventory held 2 timer bombs, 6 shells, and 3 vacuum bombs. Ryuta climbed up cautiously, without activating his radar, fearing detection, relying on his instincts instead. He found a decayed body and fought nausea to resist vomiting. The chip seemed missing. Uncle Tai retrieved the chip from the fat man's corpse below. After a pause, Ryuta finally used his radar and spotted someone on the mountain, a girl he had met before. He suspected she was responsible for the 2 dead bodies. Himiko sensed she was being scanned and threw a poison gas bomb, forcing Ryuta to flee into the forest and confront her. Ryuta noticed the girl carried 4 pouches, meaning she had more bombs and he'd lose in a numbers fight. He tried negotiating peace. She agreed, dropping her bombs. But when Ryuta approached, she panicked and threw a bomb at him, fearing he was lowering her guard. Surviving the blast, Ryuta charged forward, only for her to pull out a stun baton, forcing him to dodge. Despite his earnest talks, she lunged at him with the baton. His panic caused him to kick her hand, accidentally shocking herself. Seeing her faint, Ryuta took her bombs. Temptation surged to act in this secluded spot, but he restrained himself. He realized the fat man he'd seen was the root of Himiko's fear. He carried her away, and when she regained consciousness, he explained her body was still paralyzed from the stun baton, reassuring her he meant no harm. But she pulled a timer bomb, threatening to die with him. She'd rather perish innocent than be defiled. Ryuta stopped her just before it exploded. After retrieving the insect from the corpse of the heavyset man, Ryuta, feeling exposed, decided to act. He spotted someone on the mountain and recognized it as the girl he had encountered earlier. He suspected she was the one responsible for the 2 bodies he had seen. Himiko, realizing the threat, threw a gas bomb, forcing Ryuta to flee the forest and confront her. Noticing her 4 bags, he understood that in a fight of explosives he would surely lose. He tried to negotiate for peace. She agreed to listen and dropped the bomb, but as he approached, anxiety gripped her. She hurled a bomb in his direction, believing he was trying to catch her off guard. Surviving the explosion, Ryuta charged forward, only for her to draw a stun baton to attack, forcing him to dodge. He continued to negotiate, but she lunged at him, stun baton poised to strike, creating a moment of panic. In a desperate attempt, Ryuta kicked her hand, causing her to shock herself. Seeing her unconscious, temptation bubbled up within him to act in a place where no one would witness. Yet he restrained himself, realizing that the heavyset man was the source of Himiko's fear. He carried her away, and when she regained consciousness, he informed her that her body was still numb from the electric shock. He assured her he would not harm her. However, she pulled out a timed bomb, declaring she would die alongside him. She'd rather perish with her innocence intact than be tainted. Ryuta stopped her just before the bomb detonated, recognizing her sincerity. He brought her back to Chutai, where both invited her to eat, assuring her that they all desired to escape the island, and they needed her help to do so. Yet she questioned the purpose of returning when those she knew wished for them to vanish instead. Ryuta pondered how she had obtained such information. Himiko was the one whose friends had written her name on Chutai's list. She had a good relationship with her family, but had previously argued with a guest. Ryuta realized that everyone on this island was despised back home, leading to their banishment. It appeared that his own mother had signed his name onto that list. He couldn't accept this harsh truth when suddenly all 3 heard rustling in the forest. It approached ominously, and Gada couldn't pinpoint the source. Chutai grabbed a flashlight from the supplies and illuminated multiple faces. They opted to flee, but Himiko was still reeling from the electric shock, and the attackers revealed themselves as giant lizards. Ryuta entrusted Himiko to Chutai to return for the head striking a lizard with a rock and tossing a bomb at the pursuing creatures. But, to his dismay, the bomb failed to explode. He realized the boy he hadn't killed still held the bomb's ownership. The attackers revealed themselves as giant lizard gods. He entrusted Himiko to Uncle Taya to fetch the bomb. Striking the lizard god's head with a stone, he grabbed a bomb and threw it toward the pursuing creatures. But the bomb didn't explode. He realized that, since he hadn't killed that brat yet, the bomb wasn't fully under his control. Frantically searching his many pockets, Uncle Taya got bitten on the leg. Meanwhile, he finally found a bomb and hurled it to drive the lizard gods away. Afterward, the three parted ways. Ryuta carried Himiko, and Uncle Taya took the bomb and supplies. Uncle Taya admitted, "You truly are a rare kind of hero. You could have abandoned me and Himiko to save yourself, but you chose to help. Don't be so pessimistic." Honestly, he was scared whenever Ryuta left, never knowing if he'd come back or had already given up on them. What Himiko said earlier seemed true. Uncle Taya could be kind to family, but ruthless at work, even doing bad deeds. It's no wonder some hated him. Maybe this was his own punishment. Suddenly, the lizard gods attacked again. Uncle Taya ran ahead, but Ryuta got separated and wandered alone in the dark forest. Worried, he searched with his weapon, but found nothing. He guessed Uncle Taya was standing still on purpose to conserve energy. Then, he was attacked by the lizard gods again, but a bomb flew in and took care of them. Uncle Taya had returned, struggling to find him. Ryuta realized both sides were using signal jammers, causing interference. He apologized for doubting Uncle Taya, but he didn't blame him. Fear makes us imagine the worst. Uncle Taya no longer kept his bomb secrets. Before, he didn't fully trust Ryuta, but now he believed in him. He trusted that they'd be safe together. The three finally caught the sea breeze, knowing they were close to escaping the forest. Uncle Taya found a shelter ahead, so they hurriedly brought Himiko inside. The three had to lift Himiko up the hut to avoid the lizard gods behind them, but the ladder was rusty and broke, causing all three to fall. Uncle Taya asked Ryuta to carry Himiko up while he held back the lizard gods. His bomb was a homing kind, able to target only one enemy at a time, not all. Desperately, Ryuta tried to wake Himiko. When Uncle Taya returned, he thought Ryuta was trying to save himself and leave Himiko behind. But Ryuta ran back and threw a gas bomb into the forest, driving the lizard gods away. He told Uncle Taya to fall back and explained the deadly effect of the gas bomb. Since the wind was blowing away from them, the gas wouldn't reach their shelter. Ryuta used Himiko's help to activate the bomb finally, seeing the stark difference between the game world and reality. No wind in the game, and he couldn't use others' bombs. Himiko woke up soon after. The three climbed into the hut and noticed signs of a past battle inside. But then something went wrong. Uncle Taya's wound hadn't been cleaned or bandaged, so it started swelling and causing him intense pain. He soon fainted, and Ryuta had to find a way to help. After listening carefully, Ryuta realized the lizard gods would come back. Himiko remained unsure about what Ryuta had been up to while she was unconscious. End of provided subtitles. Whether he was awake or not, his flushed face made her call him a terrible person. When he reached out to explain, she recoiled in fear, refusing anyone to touch her. He then went to fetch medicine to disinfect Uncle Tai's wound. Though in pain, Uncle Tai urged him to keep going, but his body struggled, forcing him to ask Himiko to hold Uncle Tai still. She still feared physical contact, so he reminded her that Uncle Tai got hurt protecting her. Uncle Tai's injury was now stable, but they didn't know what to do next. Then, the game administrator arrived to check things out. They discovered Ryuta was still alive. He had already faced 4 players, killed 1, and was forming a team with 2 others. The administrator ordered the staff to keep watching Ryuta closely. He was a precious data source. Ryuta noticed Himiko seemed to be cosplaying through her wallpaper. He tried to learn her name, but she kicked him in the leg for snooping on her phone. She had no intention to team up with either of them, and trusted no one enough to share her name. Ryuta had a question about the bombs and the suitcase. How did she get them? She could only use a different type of bomb if the original owner was dead. Did she kill those people to seize the stash? He didn't trust her either, suspecting she might betray him any time. When she tried to play the victim, Ryuta wasn't sure if she was faking it because if she betrayed and killed both of them, she'd have enough chips to escape. Suddenly, Ryuta sensed someone just activated a grenade. Himiko was the only one detected, so she wanted to leave to avoid dragging them both down. Ryuta realized the enemy had only detected one person, so he planned to step out first to divert attention. He promised to continue their conversation later. He entered the forest, activated his grenade to pinpoint the enemy's location, and ran to lure them far away from the game zone. But just as he activated it, someone appeared behind him. He dodged just in time. The attacker was the tied-up man Himiko had escaped from. The man chased Ryuta relentlessly. Ryuta was forced to jump down and brandish a bomb to threaten the man who wielded a knife. He tried to recruit the man to his side, but the man refused. So Ryuta escalated the threat. Suddenly, a bomb flew toward Ryuta. It was the lawyer who had joined forces with the tied-up man. The lawyer saw Ryuta had multiple bomb types and branded him a killer, wanting the tied-up man to eliminate him immediately. But Ryuta pressed his stun gun to the lawyer's face, forcing him to retreat. The tied-up man didn't kill Ryuta immediately, but trailed him back to his hideout. There, Ryuta reunited with Uncle Tai and Himiko. She wanted to leave them behind and take the supplies, but the tied-up man had followed Ryuta here. Once a mercenary, he easily tracked footprints. He confronted Himiko, realizing if he followed Ryuta, he'd catch up eventually. He recognized some of his equipment with her and suspected the chubby man nearby was already dead by her hand. He demanded their chips. Ryuta pulled out his stun baton to threaten the mercenary. He claimed to understand the game and vowed to find its flaws to help everyone return without killing. The mercenary thought Ryuta was still childish and knew he wanted 8 chips to escape. When he tried to attack Ryuta, Uncle Tai jumped in and got 4 fingers slashed off. Ryuta was shoved off the cliff with a blow. Ryuta regained consciousness, lucky to be caught in a tree. Returning to the cabin, only Uncle Tai remained. All supplies were gone. Ryuta found Himiko's phone left behind and recognized her as the Himiko he had fallen for in the game. He resolved to rescue her, but Uncle Tai needed him to stay and promised to hold on with the medicine. Yet Ryuta insisted on leaving. Meanwhile, Himiko was captured and tied up by the 2 men. The mercenary decided to torture her slowly. When he lightly slashed her hand, radar signals came back. Himiko was broadcasting again. The mercenary realized Ryuta was alive. He sent the lawyer to bomb Ryuta while he waited to kill him if he appeared, knowing Ryuta had no bombs left. An explosion echoed, and the mercenary, unsure who survived, kept watching for intruders. Only the lawyer appeared, bombing Ryuta's location, but Ryuta vanished. Both used radar, but Ryuta dodged by standing still. He sneaked into the room where Himiko was imprisoned. As a bomb fell, he caught and deactivated it just in time. He learned that disabling bombs made them usable. He rescued Himiko and mentioned they had played together in the game. She recognized him as the Ryuta she had cherished but refused to admit it. Ryuta thought he had mistaken her for another Himiko. They tried to escape, but were exposed by a grenade. The mercenary sent the lawyer after Ryuta. He chased and bombed him, but Ryuta dodged and threw back the bomb he had just acquired. However, Himiko was captured again. The mercenary offered Ryuta a chance for a one-on-one fight if he dropped his knife. Ryuta aimed at the knife, knowing where the 8 chips were gathered. Since Ryuta had multiple bomb types, he must have at least 2 chips, Himiko and the chubby man's. Uncle Tai and the lawyer were 2 more, plus the teacher and the mercenary, made the final 2, completing 8 chips. The mercenary let Ryuta fetch the knife, but as soon as he grabbed it, the mercenary slammed him down and locked his hands. He accused Ryuta of breaking the rules by touching the knife during a duel. Himiko rushed to save Ryuta but was thrown aside. She managed to plant a gas bomb on the mercenary. The gas began to spread, forcing both to flee. Cornered, Ryuta spotted an escape route. Climbing up, he reached down to pull Himiko up with him. The mercenary chased and grabbed her leg. Ryuta threw a bomb back at him, one with a 3-second countdown he took from the lawyer's stash faster than the usual 10 seconds. Both escaped to death, proving Ryuta had bested the player once thought unbeatable. Back when Himiko was shunned by friends, she hid inside her house. Ryuta was the one who came to talk to her, never prying into her secrets, just promising to always be by her side. Returning to reality, Ryuta gained 3 more chips from recent events, but remained determined not to let this game drive him insane like the others. Meanwhile, the game organizers were using 3D simulations based on player data planning to develop future games from these models. That night, Ryuta and Himiko were forced to stay put as the forest paths became dangerous after dark. He shared food with her changed clothes, then returned. He decided to sleep in another room, but Himiko insisted they share the same room. Just don't cross the line. She thought he was crazy coming here unarmed, but Ryuta hoped she was the same Himiko from the game. After all, he was just an unemployed guy who buried himself in gaming, putting his online friends above all. Himiko was the one who accepted his reality. Ryuta had defeated what was considered the champion of this game. Back when Himiko was ostracized by her friends, she had secluded herself at home, and it was Ryuta who came to comfort her. He never pried into her secrets. He simply wanted her to remember that he would always stand by her. Now back in reality, Ryuta had gained 3 chips from their recent ordeal. Still, he was determined not to let this game drive him crazy like the others. Meanwhile, the organization behind this game was using 3D simulations based on the participants. It seemed they intended to utilize these simulations for future game developments. That night, Ryuta and Himiko were forced to stay put as the forest was perilous at night. He shared food with her and changed clothes. Once he finished, he returned to Himiko, deciding to sleep in another room, but she invited him to share her space as long as he stayed within the designated line. She pointed out how reckless he was for being here unarmed, though he hoped she was the Himiko he knew from the game. After all, he was just a jobless gamer who immersed himself in virtual worlds. He prioritized in-game friends above all else, and Himiko was the one who accepted his reality, which made him anxious about her safety. However, he realized he had misjudged her. She appeared to be asleep, but was actually suppressing her emotions. In her moment of despair, he had come to save her the Ryuta she knew, yet her mind battled between loathing all men and allowing Ryuta to be an exception. She dreamt of their wedding day in the game, and now it manifested in reality. Suddenly, a light shone in, startling her, and she screamed as Ryuta wondered who intruded. She described the figure resembling a ghost, but the brightness obscured her vision. Hearing about the light, Ryuta suspected it was another player and decided to search with her. As they planned to split up, she hesitated, overcome by fear. Using his radar, Ryuta found nothing. Then, he spotted a light in the distance. He left Himiko with a flashlight and went to investigate, telling her to signal him with the radar if anything happened. At the spot, it looked like an enemy might be lurking. Inside, no one was visible, but a supply suitcase remained. Suspecting a trap, he prepared to leave when suddenly the ghost appeared behind him, swinging a scythe. Ryuta barely reacted in time. In a lucky strike while dodging the scythe, he kicked the ghost away. Then, he realized it was a woman whose hand had a missing chip, explaining why she didn't show up on the radar. He wondered how long she'd been here. Returning, he called Himiko over. Startled, she accidentally slapped him. Approaching the woman, she woke up and panicked at the sight of Ryuta. Himiko asked Ryuta to step outside, then spoke with the woman. Seeing Himiko's trust in Ryuta, the woman opened up about her story. She was a nurse at a small hospital, hard-working even into her 40s, often losing track of time. One day, a doctor she admired got into trouble, so she fought to save him, but instead blame fell on her. Soon after she was thrown here, she met that doctor again. He tricked her into cooperating. When he obtained the 6th chip, he bombed her and stole her chip. He escaped alone. The bomb wasn't powerful, but she lost an arm. She didn't understand why the game kept going. She warned Himiko to be cautious because getting the 6th chip meant the real test of trust was about to begin. She then told Ryuta about the helicopters coming to pick them up once all chips were collected. So Ryuta decided to hunt all 7 chips, lure the pilot, and threaten with a bomb to seize the helicopter and escape. He wanted to return to his uncle's place, but Himiko didn't mention what would happen after getting 6 chips. They said goodbye to the woman who showed them the quickest path back. The lizard gods only appear at night, so they needed to move fast. 3 days passed, and the woman trusted Ryuta to protect Himiko. Meanwhile, Ryuta's uncle was saved by the doctor, who had left the woman behind. The doctor stopped his uncle's bleeding, but his true intention was to use Ryuta and Himiko later. When Ryuta returned cautious, he ordered the doctor to keep distance. The doctor explained he was just passing by and saved his uncle in time. Ryuta's uncle urged him to stand down, since the doctor had saved him. Ryuta chose to trust the doctor, but stayed alert about the bomb. Inspecting it, he saw it was remote detonated. The bomb showed no signs of activation, so he believed the doctor for now. In truth, the doctor hadn't encountered enemies in the past 3 days. Introducing himself as DT, he learned Ryuta's group needed just one more chip. He planned to use Ryuta as the supply helicopter arrived, setting the stage for what's to come. The group planned to grab some food for Tai-Ra. Though Tai was reluctant, Ryuta insisted, urging him to trust them. The trio then headed downstairs, spotting the nearest supply drop. Scanning the area, they saw 6 people nearby. Undeterred, they charged forward, determined to snatch the supplies before anyone else. 2 had already given up, 2 were still competing, and 2 observed from the sidelines. Ryuta dashed forward and came face to face with the bespectacled young man who had set a trap earlier. Both lunged toward the suitcase, but it slipped away, forcing them into a standoff. Ryuta noticed the guy was tough, ready to fight. Bombs flew between them as they retreated. Meanwhile, Himiko encountered a girl accompanying the bespectacled man and was knocked flat. The girl dropped a bomb and left. Ryuta hid behind a boulder but lost sight of the attacker. Deity managed to grab the suitcase but couldn't unlock it. The attacker threw a gas bomb. Darty warned him to drop the suitcase and run. After tossing it back, the attacker detonated a bomb attached to the case. Ryuta caught the suitcase and ran to escape the thief. Himiko, still alive, wielded an electric baton against the girl. She had just regained consciousness and threw a bomb. Confident, she believed her explosive artillery trumped Himiko's timed bombs. She also countered Himiko's iron baton with her electric weapon. Ryuta tried to flee, but suddenly a firebomb blocked his path. It was thrown by an accomplice of the bespectacled man. Despite warnings, Ryuta stayed, but the man ignored him. The bespectacled guy kicked Ryuta in the mouth, snatched the suitcase, and jumped into the water to put out the flames. Another bomb hit Ryuta, forcing him to jump in too. The accomplice lay in ambush by the shore, waiting for the others to climb up. Himiko struggled despite her electric baton, as the girl anticipated her moves and knew why Himiko carried a weapon for self-defense. In a panic, Himiko attacked but lost her baton. The girl locked her up, urging Himiko to quit. But Himiko, confused by her own will to survive despite near-death moments, resisted. Seeing Ryuta, she fought back, knocking the girl away and reclaiming her baton. Enraged, the girl grabbed her head just as a bomb from Darty flew in. Luckily, both dodged. Darty had deliberately tried to kill them both, but seeing Himiko alive changed tone and acted as if he had saved her. She knew not to trust him, but revealing this would cost her life. Ryuta climbed ashore and spotted the firebomb thrower. Deciding not to ascend yet, the man, seeing no one but the suitcase, casually approached and stepped on a bomb, dying instantly. The bespectacled guy gained another chip, but was threatened by Ryuta holding a bomb and forced to drop all the bombs and the suitcase. Ryuta was puzzled how he gave up so easily. He ordered him to move away, fearing remote traps, and asked for his hand to check. The man showed nothing, deepening Ryuta's suspicions. Taking a risk, Ryuta approached, but the man had the detonator hidden in his mouth. He triggered it, thinking he'd get him, but Ryuta survived. The organization watched eagerly, knowing Ryuta had 3 chips and the man 4. No need to kill, just collecting the chips would mean escape from the island. The bespectacled man concealed the remote in his sleeve and retrieved it with his mouth unnoticed by Ryuta. But Ryuta survived because he didn't approach the suitcase directly. He was led astray by a visual trick. Ryuta anticipated the man's move to grab the suitcase amid the smoke and threw a bomb, but the man ignored it and went for the corpse to retrieve a firebomb. Ryuta dove into the water to evade the flames, helplessly watching the man escape with the suitcase. Suddenly, the man revealed he knew Ryuta's name, how Ryuta didn't know. When he asked, the man turned away. Ryuta then climbed ashore and met the kid who'd fought earlier. Impressed by their battle, the kid expressed a desire for a rematch and retrieved bombs Ryuta couldn't use, assuming Ryuta was still alive. Exhausted, Ryuta collapsed on the sand. Himiko and Darty arrived and Ryuta apologized for losing the suitcase. Darty outwardly said it was fine, but inwardly cursed Ryuta's uselessness. Himiko hugged him, showing genuine worry. On their return, Ryuta wondered how the man knew his name, but realized he resembled a school friend named Oda, an all-star athlete and scholar popular with girls, yet chose Ryuta as a close friend. Oda once noticed Ryuta's crush on a classmate and urged him to confess boldly. Comparing himself to Oda, Ryuta thought his own timidity meant he'd never grow up. One day, Ryuta saw the girl he liked, crying something involving Oda. He confronted the truth: Oda and the girl had slept together. Ryuta lost control and punched Oda. Both were suspended. Oda quit school. Ryuta heard Oda now runs a big club. Reflecting, Ryuta believed this man was indeed Oda. The trio had to split the meager food Dati brought, which upset him and made him regret joining. He knew he had to leave soon or get enough chips. Ryuta tried feeding Taira, but Tai felt unwell. Dati examined and found Tai was poisoned by a lizard bite, slowing recovery. Remembering an elder woman with medicine, Ryuta wanted to return with Dati, knowing he'd know what medicine was needed. Himiko distrusted Dati and insisted on leaving Taira behind. Ryuta promised to return quickly with medicine. On the way, Himiko warned Ryuta about Dati, but he believed Dati was good since he shared food and saved Taira. Upon arrival, both knew they had to hide Dati from the elder woman, so they lied about how they discovered the place. The trio then split to search for medicine. Dati, needing to return, rushed to the medicine cabinet and grabbed several bottles most expired. He called Ryuta, questioning if he trusted him after hearing Himiko's suspicion. Ryuta chose to trust him. Dati handed him the suitcase to hold safely. Everything from sports to academics surrounded him, but he chose Ryuta as his best friend. Oda had once noticed Ryuta's feelings for a girl in class, encouraging him to be brave and confess. Comparing himself to Oda, Ryuta felt that his cowardice would lead to a lifetime of being a naive boy. Then one day, he saw the girl he liked crying, and it related to Oda, so he inquired. He learned that Oda had slept with the girl he liked. Ryuta lost control and punched Oda, leading to both being suspended, while Oda quit thereafter. Ryuta heard that Oda was now running a major club. Reflecting, he thought he should have asked what happened. It began to dawn on him that Oda truly was the scoundrel everyone spoke of. They then had to divide the scant food remaining, which Oda had brought along, causing Ryuta to feel bitter and regret joining this group. They had to share the meager food supply that Dati had brought along, and he was furious about it. Regret gnawed at him for joining this group. He knew he had to leave soon or find a way to get those chips. Ryuta had tried to feed Uncle Tai, but the old man felt unwell. After a quick examination, Dati discovered that Uncle Tai was poisoned by a lizard, hindering his recovery. Remembering that the old lady had medication, he was determined to return there and take Dati with him, knowing he would need to know what medicine to get. Himiko didn't trust Dati, so she decided to follow. Uncle Tai was left behind, while Ryuta promised he'd return quickly with the medicine. On the way, Himiko urged caution about Dati, but Ryuta believed in his goodness since he shared food and even saved Uncle Tai. When they arrived, both knew they had to keep Dati in the dark about the old lady, so they spun a tale about how they found this place. The three of them split up to search for medicine, and Dati found himself back in this familiar place. He hurried to the medicine cabinet and grabbed a few bottles, though most were no longer usable. He called Ryuta over and asked if he trusted him, remembering Himiko's doubts. Ryuta chose to believe in him and took the suitcase. But suddenly, Himiko returned and told him to throw it away. Realizing his cover was blown, Dati set off a bomb, laughing with satisfaction, as he thought he had dealt with Ryuta. He headed toward Himiko, planning to eliminate her too, but the old lady unexpectedly stabbed him from behind, and he recognized her instantly. The suitcase was his downfall. Realizing he had been exposed, he detonated the bomb, a cruel smile spreading across his face, as he thought he had finally dealt with Ryuta. He made his way to Himiko, intending to finish her off too, but before he could, the old lady struck him from behind. It was in that moment he recognized her instantly. Just 10 minutes prior, Himiko had sought out the old lady for medicine, discovering that only antibiotics and painkillers were left. She pointed to the medicine room, and both of them suddenly recognized their old acquaintance. With a sense of urgency, the old lady warned Himiko about him and the suitcase. She rushed downstairs to alert Ryuta, but the old lady had already led Himiko away. However, her fighting spirit was gone. He had followed them, triggering the bomb to block their escape. He dragged them both outside, standing in the open, surveying the chaos. But the old lady had taken the bomb from Himiko and hurled it at him. Panic gripped him as he fled, but it was all a ruse. He wanted to lure her to his trap. The bomb exploded, sending the old lady plummeting down, her grip on the bomb ensuring it detonated in her hand. She was gone, while he relentlessly pursued Himiko, intent on sweeping her up to escape the island once more. He still offered her a chance to join him, but she could not trust him, having seen how he had deceived the old lady. In a desperate moment, he threw the bomb at her and she braced herself, thinking her end had finally come. Because it hadn't been activated yet. This was Ryuta's bomb, which meant he was still alive. He stepped out from behind Himiko. How he survived wasn't hard to believe. When the enemy fled, Ryuta had thrown the suitcase and hid in a nearby corner, so he only suffered minor injuries. Now, with only a remote bomb, the enemy was at a disadvantage. Ryuta decided to abandon innocence and take him down. The enemy refused to surrender, fleeing to lure Ryuta into a trap. He planted a bomb intending to kill Ryuta. But Ryuta unexpectedly moved the bomb and approached the enemy's hiding spot. Then, determined to end this threat, Ryuta prepared to finish it. But her grandmother returned still alive and decided to take Da's life herself. She couldn't forgive him. Yet with just one apology, she hesitated, raising the sickle not to the center but the side. She couldn't bring herself to strike fully and even saved him. Ryuta couldn't understand this, but Himiko somewhat did. Maybe only girls truly understand each other's feelings. Ryuta then resolved to quickly bring medicine to Uncle Tai. On the way back, he planned to check several corpses: the fat man, the psychotic kid's father, and the bald-headed man he met at the start. In total, only 6 chips, but the bald man had 2 bomb types, so he must have more than 1 chip. Ryuta and Himiko returned to investigate, but none of the 3 bodies had chips. Himiko still felt guilty for killing the fat man, but Ryuta reassured her it was self-defense unavoidable. Ryuta didn't know who took the chips because only Uncle Tai knew about these 3 men Ryuta had encountered. Returning to the hut, Ryuta climbed the ladder and heard noises. He discovered the tracking bomb and only Uncle Tai had it. While waiting, both began hallucinating. Uncle Tai heard his son's voice, ran outside and fell. He desperately wanted to reunite with his son but didn't have enough chips. Then, an image of his wife appeared, reminding him he did have enough 2 chips picked up from Kia's father, and the fat man 3 chips near Ryuta, plus 2 from Ryuta and Himiko. That made enough. So now Uncle Tai was targeting them both. As they neared the hut, the lizards awoke. Uncle Tai stood guard. When Ryuta and Himiko climbed up to trigger the bomb, it flew toward Ryuta. He jumped down and ran, but the bomb chased him. Forced to strike it with an iron rod, he managed to stop it. Even hit, the bomb remained within explosion range. Ryuta's leg was injured. Both called for Uncle Tai to stop. Himiko knew this was the trial her grandmother mentioned while Ryuta hunted him, but found nothing. Ryuta realized Uncle Tai did all this for him, because Ryuta kept abandoning him alone, making him terrified. Ryuta saw himself becoming like the adults he hated. His father was so caught up in work, neglecting family, causing. His mother had to divorce and remarry, but he couldn't accept it, causing chaos in the family. Now he's neglecting Uncle Tai just like his father neglected him. Himi decides to stand up for him. She knows the bomb only detonates near its target, so she catches the bomb and disarms it. Seeing how she protects him, he realizes she is truly Himi, the Himi from the game he knows. Uncle Tai notices the problem and shifts his target to Himiko. But Ryuta catches on to Uncle Tai's plan and rushes to catch the bomb. Uncle Tai, scared, tries to run, but is spotted by both of them. They chase after him, wanting him to come back. Uncle Tai thinks they're hunting him to kill him, but then he falls off a cliff. He plans to use the last bomb to take them both out, but hears Ryuta's apology and wish for him to return. Moved, Uncle Tai realizes he was wrong. Now, the lizard creatures are closing in, signaling the end for Uncle Tai. He apologizes to his family for not enduring the suffering any longer, aims the bomb at himself and detonates. Hearing the explosion, they rush over and find him dead. Ryuta blames himself for not apologizing sooner, but now it's too late. They return to the tent and Ryuta tells Himiko that Uncle Tai was just an ordinary man like anyone else. He understands the pain Uncle Tai endured and that his own neglect partly led to his departure. But Himiko asks if he wants to leave this place. She pulls out 3 chips from Uncle Tai's belongings, 3 chips that he and she possessed together, enough for an escape. She urges him to take her life as the price to return, because now she has nowhere else to go. He is the only place she can call home. Even though it's just a virtual world, he saved her many times and stood by her when she was at her lowest. She realizes he is her hope for life, but he's not that kind of person who would accept her dying. He recognizes her as the Himi from the game he's always wanted to meet. He asks for a kiss first, and they are about to spend a sleepless night together. Yet Ryuta still sees Himiko's fear images of Oda haunting her mind. The figure urges Ryuta to take things further, but he decides he won't become like Oda, and commands those thoughts out of his head. Turning back to Himiko, Ryuta encourages her to stay hopeful. He promises to gather enough chips so they can escape together. When that day comes, he wants to date her. They embrace tightly. Meanwhile, the organizers urgently airlift supplies to the island, demanding everything be delivered within a day. The remaining fighters on the island continue battling relentlessly, desperate for their chance to return. And with that,